Hi guys, welcome back and thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. It's Miss Sandra and I have another true crime story for you guys today. So today we are going to be doing a family betrayal story. And of course, all my stories are heartbreaking, okay? But when it concerns a child, when it concerns the death of a child, it just touches the wrong way, like it touches differently. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about a little girl, baby doe, that she was known as baby doe for a very long time, for over 10 years, because she was found, or her remains were found, and she wasn't reported dead or missing or anything like that, so they couldn't identify her, so they just called her baby doe for over 10 years, and she was finally identified. And it will shock you, okay? You will be shocked who did this to this little girl. All right, so we're going to get into that story in just a few, but first let us welcome our guest for today. Our palette for today is the Violets palette by Juvia's Place, and I've used this a few times because I really love this palette. This is what it looks like. I hope you can see it. I love the color story. Yep, so that's what we're going to be playing with today. So if you have this palette, grab it, or grab whatever other thing that you want to use or you want to do while we do this video. And let's get to it, guys. So today's story is one of those stories where you just see how amazing science is, right? With this story, this little girl who was named Baby Doe for over 10 years was identified through DNA. So our story for today takes us to Alabama, Opelika. Okay, in January 2012, there was a 911 call, and this trailer park in Opelika in Alabama, there was a call that there was a body parts that was found in the field in the trailer park. So the authorities come out there to find skull, different body parts. There was some hair, there was a pink shirt, and it was just, I mean, shocking to see anything like that. The person that called actually has said that she believes that the parts or the skull that they found was just placed there because she doesn't think that it was there earlier, and she thought that somebody had just placed it there, and she was just so disgusted, like, who would do something like this? So the authorities come out there, they discover body parts, body remains, they gather the bones, they find hair, they find a pink shirt, they gather everything and take to the lab, right? And during the investigation, they discover that the body remains are that of a little girl aged about 4 to 7 years old. And not only that, they also discovered that those remains were like beaten up. Okay, it showed that the person, whoever this was maltreated. They have broken bones, they have fractures. They also discovered that the person was blind in one eye, on the left eye. But one of the most disturbing things about this little girl was that when they tried to identify her, like tried to see if they could identify her, they had gone into the database, because of course when there's a missing person, they have a database, there's description of the person and all. And when they went in there was no information about this girl. Like, there was no missing person report. There was nobody that had reported that, oh, my little girl, 6-year-old or 7 or 8-year-old was missing. She's blind in the eye, left eye, or stuff like that. Nothing. So it was just so sad. Like, how would you have a little girl like this been missing? And it did seem like she had been gone for a while, because, I mean, from the way that the missing, the parts were. So how can you have a child that's missing for this long and then nobody's reporting anything like that? So it was just disturbing. So because they could not identify this little girl, they decided now to call her baby doll, right? She was known as the Opelika baby doll. And so the search started because they really wanted to identify this little girl. They wanted her family, at least to have some closure. Or, I mean, somebody needs to know that this little girl is out here. So they decided to do like this facial reconstruction thingy, put her face out there, something that they felt like this is what she would look like, because of course they didn't know how she looked, but they came up with something. That's why I say these scientists and artists and all these people, they're very, very smart. I don't know how they do it, but they came up with a facial reconstruction, and I tell you, it looked so much like the little girl. So they put it out there on the TV. I mean, that they found this little girl. If you have any information about this person, please come up and say something, So that actually worked. Because like I said, that facial reconstruction thing, it looked so much like the little girl. Soon after they did that, this woman came up and she said that she knew somebody that looked just like that picture. She identified this little girl. There was a picture. She said she was a teacher at a vacation Bible school where she had taught during the summer, and she remembers this little girl that was shy. She looked kind of dirty. She looked malnourished, and she actually had a picture of the little girl. Now, one thing, what made the authorities really believe that yes, this is the little girl they were talking about, is that there was one detail that they did not put out when they were doing the facial reconstruction. They did not put out that this little girl was blind in the left eye. But this picture of the little girl that this woman presented, she looked just like the facial reconstruction. She was blind in the left eye. She was blind in the left eye, so the authorities knew that they had their girl. But the problem that they had was they didn't have a name. Okay? They didn't have a name because this was some kind of church thing. They didn't register the kids. It was not like daycare or something like that where they will register kids. They will have emergency contacts, they will have numbers or whatever. So they didn't have a name. So they were happy that at least they had a face, but still they could not identify this little girl. So the police is kind of disappointed, because they thought that, okay, we finally have a big break. But they don't give up. They do not give up. These police officers, they continue to investigate. The investigators, they continue to try to identify this little girl, because it's something that, I mean, I don't know how these investigators, how they live with these cases that they carry, because you kind of identify with them. Okay, you're looking at this little girl that was tortured. She had broken bones. She was blind in the left eye. For all you know, the blind eye could have come from beating, could have come from the beating that she received or the torture that she received. So these investigators, they lived with this girl. She became part of them. Like, a lot of them were even supposed to retire. They were like, we're not going to retire. We need to identify this little girl. So they kept working and working and working. And 10 years after, over 10 years after this, they have a big break. A company that specialized in doing all these DNA tests, they take this little girl's DNA and they put it in this database, and it's a new kind of technology. Okay, this one is one that is able to find all the relatives, like relatives that are related to that particular DNA, if they have it in the system. Okay, so I don't know how to explain it. Please do your research, go and find out. Google is your friend. So they put it in the system, and they have a match, you guys. This little girl's DNA matches someone in the Navy, in the database. He's in the Navy, his name is Lamar. So they come to find out that this is her father, okay? So at the time, he was living in Florida. So they travel out to Florida to meet Lamar, and they tell him, they say, oh, you know, we found this little girl, asking questions about it. And Lamar is like, huh? What are you talking about? I don't have any daughter like that. I don't know. I haven't lost any child. I don't know what you're talking about. So Lamar, he refuses. It's like he doesn't know the girl. Lamar is married. Okay, his wife's name is Ruth. They go to Ruth, ask her the same question. You know, we found this little girl. She's supposed to be your husband's daughter. Ruth is like, we don't know any baby. We don't have any child. You know, my husband doesn't have any kids or like that. So the investigators are like, okay, too bad. So, I mean, they cannot just put it on him, right? Because it is possible that he could have a child that he doesn't know about. It's possible. So they come back and they're like, okay, we need to get back on this. We need to find another relative that can help us out, because apparently this man, he doesn't know that he has a child or something like that. So they leave. So the investigators, of course, get back on the drawing board, and finally, they get to the baby's mother. They discover this lady, her name is Sherry, and she lives in Maryland. So they drive over there and they ask her about her daughter. And I can imagine how this girl, this woman, Sherry, she might be excited. They're coming to tell her about her daughter. She might be excited to see her daughter, but they're telling her that we found this little girl, okay, who is 4 to 7 years old, and we have her remains. And I mean, I can imagine the pain for this woman. So Sherry tells them, yes, I have a little girl, her name is Amore, and finally get the name for this little girl. And she tells them that her baby's name is Amore, and Amore would have been 16 years old at the time, and she had no idea that Amore was missing, and that she had been missing for that long. And the reason is because she had lost custody of Amore when Amore was just a baby, when she was like 3-4 years old. She had lost custody, and Amore was living with her dad, Lamar. Guys, the same Lamar that claimed that he didn't have a daughter. Like, so disgusting. So she had lost custody. Now what happened was that, so Sherry explained that when she was 19 years old, she had met Lamar. Lamar was 35 at the time, and they had started dating, and she got pregnant. But she said that Lamar's family didn't really like the idea. I mean, who would like the idea of a 19-year-old dating a 35-year-old? Okay, but I guess that's just me. So anyways, she got pregnant, and of course her relationship with Lamar didn't work out. And Lamar got married to his wife Ruth the same year that she had the baby. Now she was young, 19, she had her own issues, she got into some trouble, and she wasn't stable enough to keep the child at the time. So she had lost custody of the baby to Lamar when she was about 3 years old. And of course, like I said, Lamar was in the Navy. He was more stable. He was married. He had a home. So I guess they figured that the baby would be better off with the father. But it turns out that this child got into a nightmare of a home. There's some things that I don't really understand. Like, I don't know why during custody, right, you would fight to have custody of a child that you don't care about. You fight to have custody of a child that you're going to torment, you're going to beat up, you're going to maltreat. Like, this little girl went through hell in that house. And I don't know, don't take my word for it, please. I'm just speculating that Lamar was probably cheating on his wife or his girl. Ruth was probably his girl at the time because she was like almost the same age as him. And he was probably cheating on this girl with Sherry. And then she got pregnant. And then I guess all the forgiveness thing came up. And then he had now to keep the child. And obviously his wife didn't like it. And maybe she was trying to like transfer aggression on that little girl. Like, it's not her fault. Why would you torment this child? Why don't you just tell your husband that you don't want the child in your house? I mean, again, I'm speculating, okay? I don't know if she did it to the child or the man did it, but yeah. Sherry explained how she not only lost custody of this child, but she was also paying child support for the baby, okay? And child support that she had paid right up to even the week that they were coming to tell her that this child had died, she was still paying child support. Now you would ask that, okay, how come? How would you have a child and you wouldn't know that this child is dead for 10 years, 11 years? You don't know that your child is dead? I mean, she explained that Lamar wouldn't let her talk to the child, okay? And you know he's in the Navy. They keep moving from place to place. So he would block her. He wouldn't let her talk to the little girl. But he was still receiving the checks, the child support checks. She would even, one time she said that she even used a different number to call him. And when he discovered it was her, he blocked that number too. And then he just stopped picking like strange numbers. I can imagine, you know, when you're avoiding calls, guilty. When you're avoiding calls, if it's a strange number that is not in your phone, you're not going to pick it up. And I think that's what he did with her until at some point she just gave up. But she gave up trying to talk, but she gave up trying to connect with the child, but she never gave up sending the child support because in her mind she was thinking that, okay, one day when this girl turns 18, she's going to come back to look for me and I'm going to tell her that I tried. I kept trying and these are the checks. This is the child support that I kept paying for you, but your dad wouldn't let me. And she kept hoping and kept hoping. And at the time, the daughter, she was supposed to be, 16, 17 years old. And I'm sure she was just counting to that day when this little girl would turn 18 and would just come looking for her. And everything just shattered just like that. So after 10 years, the detectives finally put a name to this little girl. Baby Jane Doe is now called Baby Amore Wiggins. That's her name, Amore Wiggins. And her mom said that she named her Amore, meaning love, right? Like she loved her little girl. And I mean, we can't really blame her for losing the girl at the time when she lost custody. If Lamar was a good person, she would have kept in contact with her daughter, you know, but for whatever reason he decided to block her from ever contacting her daughter. Yeah, so if you guessed that they went back to find Lamar, you guessed right, okay? Because investigators, they ran back to look for this guy. Went back to Florida, they got him, and then they started looking for an extradition, right, to extradite them back to Alabama. First, they went for the wife. They went for his wife first, Ruth, because, yeah, she had told them that she did not know anything about this girl. So they went for her first, and then when Lamar found out that the wife had been arrested, he turned himself in. So it's just, I mean, It's terrible, you know. It's really, really terrible. Like, why? Like I said before, why would you want to keep this little girl that you don't really care for, you know? Terry also did mention at one point that Lamar started to get abusive with her, okay? When he started pushing her, shoving her, she knew, and, you know, good for her. Good for her, because if she had stayed, maybe she's the one that would have gone first before even the baby, you know. So good for her that she left when she started to see the red flags. It's just so sad that after all these years, Sherry finally gets to hear from her daughter, but not in the way that she actually wanted to, you know. I mean, I'm sure that the investigators, they're all happy that, I mean, there's an end to this, but it's not the type of happy ending that we would expect. I mean, I'm glad for her. I'm glad for the mom that she gets to officially mourn her daughter, because she did plan to have like a formal memorial for her daughter down there in Opelika with the people that she lived with, and then she would then hopefully bury her up at Virginia, where she was born. So in all, I mean, it's really, really sad. And again, I still cannot wrap my head around why people do what they do, especially to children, you know, because it's not the first time where we've seen situations where during custody there's this one parent that is the one that really wants the child, and you know very well that this child is not going to have a good life with you, you know, but you want the child anyways. I don't know if it's to hurt the other person. I think that's what it is, really. Probably just for vindictive reasons. You just want to find a way to hurt the other person. Although in this case, it wasn't that. I don't think it was that, because Sherry did say that she had her own issues, right? She really didn't feel like she was stable enough, you know, to take care of the child at that time. But in some cases, we see that it's just for vindictive reasons. You know that you're taking this child that you don't want, a child that in the beginning you didn't even want the child. I mean, it's just so sad. It's so sad. And again, like I said, I'm speculating that Sherry was probably the other woman, okay? Just speculating here, guys. Don't come for me. I was not there. But because they got married at the same year, okay? He got married to this lady the same year that Amore was born. So something fishy there. So that's the sad story of Amore Wiggins. Amore would have been going to 17 years old. And like I said in the beginning, with kids, it just touches differently. You know, it just hits a different kind of way. Because I'm looking at Amore and I'm thinking about my daughter. My daughter was born in 2006. She is going to be 17 this year, just like Amore. You know, so I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, this could be anybody. This could be my daughter. Why would somebody do this to another person? Yeah, so the sad story of Amore, who was betrayed by her father, or let me say allegedly. She was allegedly betrayed by her own father and stepmother. And I say that allegedly because this is it's new. Like, all of this just unfolded like last year, 2022. So they have not been to court yet. They have been arrested and charged, but they haven't been to court yet. So we don't know how it's going to turn out. We don't know who did it, We don't know, but for me, both of them are responsible. Okay, both of them should be found guilty, because I mean, it doesn't really matter who did it. If it's the woman that did it, this is your child. She's missing. Why didn't you report her missing? How did she lose an eye without you knowing? You know, so he cannot put it on the wife, and she of course can put it on him, because if he was doing it to his daughter, she should have reported it. She should have said something, you know. So it's just sad either way. The neighbors, when the couple was arrested, their neighbors said that they didn't really know them like that, but they felt like there was something going on in that house. Like, it's like both of them, there was something going on. There was no peace in that house, but of course, no peace for the wicked, right? How would they move on? How would they have a happy home when they have blood on their hands? You know, how? So it's obvious that they should have had a troubled marriage after what they know that they did, allegedly. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, I just, you know, pray for Sherry. It can't be easy for her, you know, trying to deal with this long lost daughter that you've always like prayed to meet someday, and then you find out that she is gone in that kind of way in the hands of her own parents. It's so sad. And I can imagine her now trying to deal with all of this, and you know, going for the court hearings and everything, the case, because I know she will be there. There's no way that she's just gonna let it go. She's gonna be attending those cases and everything. So there was a GoFundMe that was created to assist Sherry with all the expenses of going to court, and you know, taking time off work to follow up this case and everything. And at the time when I was recording this, it was over $16,000 had been contributed already. I'm going to link it, the GoFundMe, underneath for anybody that wants to help out. You know, yeah, it cannot be easy for her. So yeah, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section about this. It's terrible. Yeah, let me know what you think, and let me know what you think about my look for today. And yeah, until next time, you guys take care of yourselves and each other. And I love you, love you, love you. If you have been watching up to this time, you are my MVP. Thank you so much. All right, take care. Bye.